Good afternoon. RJBTV back here live again with the RJBTV Tour #1. And yesterday we went through matches between LovelyRabbit and Scan, which LovelyRabbit ended up winning 4 wins to 1 loss. It means that today we're diving into the match between Toki and Voss. Toki is known as LovelyRabbit to most of us foreigners, and Voss is known as JH to most of us who have played SCW. And just to reiterate the rules one more time, the first match between 2 players in a set is a Protoss versus Protoss with a rule, namely no choke and no cannons on the middle of the map. Both players are more or less forced to seek out confrontation and risk their hides when they're fighting. Now, each set is a best of 7. Mind control is not allowed. Now also, the loser of the first match decides the race matchup for the next match, and so on forward. So the loser of every single match decides the 2 races that are played in the next one. Now, each combination of races can only be played once. So for example, you can only play Protoss versus Terran once, but you can still, in that case, play Terran versus Protoss, and so onwards. So without further ado, let's start up the match and get into the very first bit of Protoss versus Protoss action of today between these 2 powerhouse players. Let's get that out of the way. And so Protoss is here on the, I think that is a pale blue color. That's pale blue, 100% pale blue for Voss. He's on the middle right of the map, whereas we got Toki on the name Adril LF23. Not quite sure how you pronounce this little bit right here with the RLF, Adril F23. He's playing on the pale yellow Protoss. So both players got the randomized pale colors. The pale yellow color is honestly really annoying when there's also another yellow player on the map or olive green player on the map. It's really difficult to see. Even the pink color or the pale gray color, it all kind of blends together. To be honest, in short, the pale colors all kind of blend together with another color on the minimap, or even when you're looking at the 2 races, and the 2 races are both Protoss, and you're looking at them on the screen, it's really hard to differentiate between the 2. I hope that at some point Blizzard decides to fix that, because it's honestly really annoying in team games. In 1 versus 1 games, it doesn't matter all that much, because you practically never ever get 2 colors that clash or blend together. Nonetheless, both players starting off the exact same. Both players starting off there with +1 Nexus. Of course, first the Pylon, Nexus, Gateway. Toki is doing the exact same thing here on the other side of the map. What's this? Oh, I selected some parts. So both players now started scouting. He goes for a Forge. Toki does not go for a Forge. Toki goes for a very quick assimilator. Not as quick as it could have been, but relatively speaking, compared to Voss, his assimilator is rather damn quick. There's at least, I think about 10 seconds or so in between these 2 assimilators, meaning that Toki can get his tech up and running before Voss can. Also, a second gas already coming out there and going for a cybernetics core before Voss went for his cybernetics core, but Voss starts off with a cannon first, so at least his probes are not at risk. The upside of Voss's choice here, though, is that he is going to have a little bit more minerals compared to Toki, because Toki's already sent those 3 probes there to the gas, whereas I think Voss caught another 40 or 50 minerals off those 3 probes mining minerals before they were sent to the gas. Also, the same happening with the second gas. But I think Toki has this built a little bit more optimized than Voss here, because Voss might overshoot his gas by quite a bit, or just be a little bit later with his tech out on the map. Considering both players are going for, I assume, pretty tech-heavy builds, they might even be going for the exact same. Never mind, they're not going for the exact same builds. That's already a deviation there. So skill of doom coming out here for Toki. He wants to go for Dark Templars first, I assume. Whereas Voss might be going for Dragoon range. Or he might be he's also doing the exact same thing. Single Zealot there tries to kill Probe. It kills a single Probe. Likewise, Voss is trying to do the exact same thing here on the other side of the map. It's Single Zealot there on the run, hunting for Probe, but doesn't get one because the Probe runs away to safety. But it's still on the chase. The second Zealot there comes into the fight. It doesn't kill the Probe because the Probe manages to get away. And it looks like Toki got the upper hand in this. Never mind, he kills two Probes there because two Probes were on low HP, so maybe even three Probes went down. Also, a Probe there bugged right on top of the nest, and it's stuck on top of it. It's kind of interesting to see. So you might, and there it goes. It tries to get out. Will they get out though? We'll never find out. Alright, so this fight erupts here on the middle. Dragoons against Zealots. Voss does not have Zealots yet. He doesn't even have Zealots on the way. I mean, Dragoons on the way, not Zealots. He does a lot of Zealots. Zealots are still going for the Probes. Toki still tries his best to keep his workers alive, but he ends up losing a couple of them, which now means that Voss is ahead by 2 to 3 Probes, depending on when they are spawning. But those Dragoons that Toki has here might start posing a threat for Voss. But Voss is also going for Dark Templars. Both players have like Dark Templars coming out at the exact same time, but Toki's only making a single one because he's also going for Storm Upgrade and a Shuttle. Doesn't have a support bay yet. The support bay is being walked in. There's a cannon there. It's a defensive measure against Dark Templars, but also against the Zealot harass. But the Zealots are still going to keep on trying harassing, but they both now running into those Dragoons, so they're going for the cannon. They're going to try to take down the cannon, so the Dark Templars that are on the way are no longer detected, but Toki quickly throws down another cannon so he can detect those future Dark Templars that will be on the way very soon. In that regard, Voss might have gone in a little bit too early, but I think Voss is going to try to keep canceling and attacking those cannons that are being built there and warped in from Toki. No, he's going for the Probes instead. So 3 Probes lead for Voss still. Voss has 5 gateways there. He has finished up his Dark Templars. 1 is there, 2 over here. Shuttle drop with the Templar. And is already on the way cross map. I don't think Voss spotted this one, although he did spot the shuttle, but he doesn't know yet where the shuttle is. It could be coming from any direction. And he made 1 more extra cannon. He also has his own robotics facility now on the way. Fight here breaking out inside of Toki's base. He's trying to kill that cannon there so he can start killing the tech there on the top side, but another cannon there finishing up. I think this cannon is going to stay alive there as well. So this attempt there from Voss is falling short by a tiny bit, but he kills another Probe. And the Storm Drop comes in here for Toki, and he actually killed about... Toki was behind by 6 Probes. It was 46 to 42, and 40. Now he lost 16 Probes, so that's a pretty big hit that Voss took there. It's going to slow him down significantly, whereas Toki, at the moment occupied with fighting against those Dark Templars, is not being slowed down all that much, although he has not been able to build any new buildings or spend all those minerals because those Dark Templars are keeping him contained and small. He's trying to build here on the top side, but this is going to get cancelled there as well because the Observer... I thought I saw an Observer here, but the Observer has disappeared. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was no Observer there. But those goons there are waiting for the Observer to spawn, where at the same time another Templar drop is on the way. Pylon there also gonna get attacked there by Voss, so he is keeping Toki busy and on his toes and incapable of going for the counter attack to finish him off, because he could have done some significant damage here to Voss, while Voss had lost all of his probes and had to interrupt his mining to recover from that storm drop that he got hit by. In comes the shuttle, Templars, 2 Templars there, probes are running away, Templars are loading a little bit too far away, and he doesn't get any of those probes, so all the probes there stay alive. Great pull there from Voss. Another shuttle there on the top side, but this one gets intercepted by those Dragoons using the shuttle on the high ground so he can spawn it out. And so the shuttle that was coming in from the top side gets shut down. So Voss still gets himself more time to recover and catch up with Toki. But I think once you fall behind, catching up becomes really difficult. Also making more cannons there to detect Dark Templars, but also to defend himself. Because he's not allowed to make a choke, so he builds his cannons inside of his base. Also has an observer now on the way. He killed the other... Oh, he's got 2 observers now. One there is going to the side for side vision. This one likewise going to the top side to provide him side vision against those shield drops that are definitely going to be coming in from Voss. And this one is actually going to fly straight into that observer range. So he'll spot that one out, and then he'll be able to snipe the shuttle with his Dragoons by putting his Dragoons in place, knowing that the shuttle is coming. At the same time, a frontal attack is happening here from Voss. He wants to distract Toki from that shuttle drop. He's even putting his units in the exact same spot the shuttle is going to be coming from, so that the Dragoons are kept occupied and busy and distracted from the shuttle. But the shuttle, I think Toki knows it's coming, so he's on his toes. He sees the shuttle, he cannot go for it because the Zealots are zoning those Dragoons away. In comes the shuttle. Will he get it? There's a single Templar in there. Will he get any of those probes? But ooh, he managed to snipe the shuttle. Really, ooh, wait, the Templar is still there. Templar gets about 11 kills, so he does manage to get a pretty good hit there on Toki. He even puts himself in a probe count lead, but his base though is still significantly smaller than Toki's base, because Toki has another 8 gateways there on the top side, whereas Voss is still stuck on only 5 gateways and only just now starting all the extra gateways that he needs, whereas Toki already has 6 here, 8 there for a total of 14, and he's setting up more observers on his sides to provide himself with side vision against those shuttle drops. Nonetheless though, Voss is throwing out a lot of gateways here. Throwing out a lot of gateways, a total of 5 there on the top side, so he'll have a total of 10. And I think he's going to throw in a lot more because he's got a lot of minerals and he really has to catch up in terms of production ability, which at the moment he is lacking compared to Rabbit. As you can see, Rabbit is already skyrocketing way past Voss's side count because of those 8 extra gateways there on the top side. Also starting pilots are on the side. You can build. He's keeping a little bit of space there in between, so you can build a row of cannons and make a row of gateways here. I really like that setup. It's really efficient. Also allows you to send your units out to your opponent rather quick. They don't really get blocked by any buildings. There's a nice little bit of neat space in between those buildings you can walk through. It's a really nice SimCity, specifically built for Protoss versus Protoss. Whereas if you're playing Protoss versus Terran, you can build a pylon here and then build gateways here. There's still a tiny bit of space for units to walk through. It's a little bit more compact, but you can fit more gateways in your base that way as compared to doing it like this. But this is safer. In Protoss versus Protoss, you don't need all that many gateways. I think about 16 of them is enough. Maybe even 20 is enough, because their biggest aim is shuttle drops and killing workers, which Toki is now planning on doing. He sends in his shuttle. Voss responds a little bit slow, which means that the Templar is going to drop out on location, and he kills a couple of those SCVs there. I think he killed about probes, not SCVs, he killed about 10 probes there, put himself back in the worker count lead, which in addition to his mass lead, his mass is way bigger. Is he going to start throwing some frontal punches here into the gut of Voss, because as the rules dictate, you're allowed to build one cannon in the front. He decided against building a single cannon here in the front, so he is rather exposed. So now really is the time for Rabbit to start punching and try and break through the front there with his mass size and run Voss over. But Voss's program is still big enough to keep producing units. And the upside of defending is that your units spawn in the middle of the fight, whereas the opponent who is attacking has to send his units over from the base. The fight is erupting now though. Shuttle drop coming in at the same time. The shuttle drop gets taken down there by a Rabbit, so now Voss has to send in another shuttle drop. He doesn't have a Templar already at the moment. It's right over there. The Templar might go down. Templar stays alive. He storms with a couple of Dragoons there. Pretty great fight here from Rabbit. I'm going to zoom out a little bit to get a little bit more oversight because the fight scale is so big. Voss gets a surround though, because his units are spawning there on the top side and on the bottom side, and Rabbit has to go in through the front portion here. So the surround there, and both players just get, both players got hit by a storm drop while the fight was happening. I'm blind as hell. I'm blind. As you can see right there, that's 51 kills. The Templar that Toki sent in, though, got about a similar amount of kills. I think he got about 45, because the difference is about 6 or 8 probes between the two players. But Voss has way less minerals sitting in his bank, meaning that if Rabbit just keeps throwing out mass attacks here onto Voss, he's going to simply kill more units than Voss can replace. Whereas Rabbit can replace quite a bit of units in his base and send them out into the fight. I'm really sorry for missing both those drops, because both those drops turned out to be absolutely essential and crucial to the end result of the game. But nonetheless, Toki Not very convincingly, but eventually comes out with the win with some pretty good play there. Pretty damn good Protoss versus Protoss play here from Toki. Even retreats out of the base to pull Voss out into the chase to kill those Zealots, because the Zealots won't be dealing damage if you're kiting them. And then once his mass regroups with the other half of his mass, he re-enters the base. Voss is sending out one last ditch effort. Shuttle drop, but I think this is going to be the game because he lacks the mass size, he lacks the amount of units to fight into this. Also drop coming in there from Toki, this free Templar single Zealot is going to be the ending hit here, the ending punch, and in comes the Storm Drop, kills pretty much all the probes there. 27. This one killed nothing, that one dying there killed 3, so he killed a total of 30 probes, down to 4 probes remaining. Token 28, plus of course this massive Dragoon army here in the middle of the base, hammering away on the gateways, taking everything down that they meet in their path. The first game, 1-0 for Rabbit. Let's move on to game number 2, see how that one plays out and who wins that one. Voss gets to pick the races. For game number 2, Voss decided on Terran versus Zerg, which I believe is Toki's weakest matchup by quite a bit. It's a cross-map spawning here. Toki on the Magenta Zerg. So we've got Voss on the Terran on the other side of the map, playing Pale Blue. Just like last game, Pale Blue. Hide this little interface bit there. Gonna pull that one up. Speed up the first 2 minutes. Because especially in a cross-map situation, there will be no action within the first 3, maybe even 4 minutes. Because it's a cross-map, both players have to find each other first. And we're not going to sit through all that non-action. As well, it's not much fun to watch. This is fun to watch though, seeing this progressing rather quickly. He's scouting this chokes because he knows that he's Zerg. He's assuming that there's going to be a choke, but as a result of only scouting the chokes, he is not finding his opponent. Rabbit hasn't bothered scouting yet, but he has found and seen those SCVs running across the map, and both players now fighting each other. SCV runs into a couple of Zerglings because Toki went for a non-choke build Zerg, which does expose him quite a bit, but it can potentially give him an edge over his opponent Voss, who has to play cross-map, which is pretty good for the Zerg in this case, because the Zerg can now mass quite big, and maybe counter those Marines there on the middle, but the Marines are being balled up there rather smart, which Toki can see. He can see that the Marines are being balled up there with those 2 Overlords. As he returns back to home, and of course the beautiful RJB exclamation mark on the middle. I just needed some extra space to fill up with the exclamation mark. That's the only reason why it's there. But it looks pretty nice, even if I do say so myself. Giving myself a lot of high praise that maybe is undeserved. Actually, I could add another row here, but nonetheless, let aside. Lair finished up, Lurkers are on the way. The Lurker aspect is on the way. He's also getting Zergling speed. Zerglings are still there on inside of his choke. Marines have balled up, become bigger. Stim upgrade also almost finished up. Medics are on the way from cross map. The factory's on the way, and the confrontation looks to be starting out here. Toki's buying time by baiting those Marines into those Zerglings. He also now knows that Toki has Zergling speed. Most Zerglings are on the way. He's making Sunkens first, but he's not turning them into Sunkens just yet. He has a lot of idle larva there, not doing anything whatsoever, but he is going to make them do something. You see, at the moment he's focusing on those Hydralisks. He now adds more drones. You'll have a total of 4 drones, so you have a total of 21 drones once those drones finish. Firebats and medics have met up with the Marines, and Voss is now sending them in. In his base, he's also made a starport already because he needs a science facility against those Lurkers, which he knows are definitely on the way here from Toki. Toki is a little bit late with that Sunken, which is going to get taken down. Beautiful angle here from Voss, goes in, takes down Sunken number 1, goes for Sunken number 2, going to take down those pilots there as well, which is going to hurt Toki significantly. You won't take down the den before the Lurker aspect finishes up, but Toki can only make a single Lurker there. He lost both of those Hydralisks. Had to wait for a new Hydralisk. He did finish Lurker aspects, so Lurker's on the way, but he cannot afford another Hydralisk. Oh, there's another Hydralisk there. Wait, is that a Hydralisk or is that a Lurker? Alright, that's a Hydralisk being morphed. He's going to try to get in from behind, or is he going to try to cut off the supply line? Looks like Voss knows the supply line is he's trying to go for the exact maneuver. So So he sends his Marines up into the fight, and those already sent Marines are taking down those Zerglings a little bit too quick, while those Marines over here are taking down whatever is left there. But now the first lurker has finished for Toki, so he is going to be able to keep those Marines at bay. But looks like Voss already has a tank almost finished up. You got siege mode on the way, side facility on the way there as well, and faction number 2 also being built. He's mining from 3 gazers there, so that's going well for him as well. Still on the 3 barrack marine production. He's got a turret there in his base as a defensive measure. He tried to take down the lurker that's slowly trying to move forward. He put his lurkers on 2 separate locations so that the only way Voss can come in is through the middle. That's still somewhat a gamble because he's going to put this lurker there in the middle to block that off. Also has a new Highless that already finished up, but he has been slowed down so significantly by the attack by Voss that he's now running behind on the facts. He's trying to build a Surge Spire so he can transition into Realist, but I think he already took too much damage, got slowed down too much, that he won't really be capable of fighting into Voss. This is one of those cases where a non-choke Zerg build is backfiring pretty hard because there's just so much pressure the Terran can put on your base and on your tech and on your buildings when they don't have to fight through all those summons in the front first. They can go directly into their base and start hammering away. Also, it gives this tank a lot of agency inside of Toki's base. Turret there coming out there in the choke point, so we can keep those over flying into its own death. Yeah, it dies. A couple of Marines give their lives, but nonetheless, that was definitely worth it because now Toki has to wait for another Overlord to spawn, which is taking quite a bit. But he lost about 100 minerals. That slowed down a tiny bit. Now he's even once again supply stuck still, so it slows him down even more than I thought it would. Got a couple of workers there waiting for the attack, but Voss is waiting for his vessel. Vessel has finished. Vessel is flying across map now. Got a total of 4 factories already up and running. A second command center on the way there as well. Still getting radiate now, making a second vessel just in case. Because Toki's going for Scorches, not going for Realisks. He's going for Scorches so we can take down those vessels and push forward with those lurkers, assisted by Zerglings it appears, because Zerglings are spawning. Lurkers have finished up, lurkers are waiting. Scorches are aiming and waiting to go in for the vessel, but I think Voss already has the scan up and running. Goes in for the vessel, vessel gets taken. No, vessel stays alive because the second Scorch got taken down before it could get hit in. Which now means that Voss can slowly push forward. He also almost has Radiate finished up, and once he has Radiate finished up, he's going to go for a hit on those drones there. He's dancing back and forth with his vessel, keeping it outside of the range of the Scorches, protecting the vessel with the Marines, while also slowly taking down the lurkers there on the side of the tanks. So Voss is playing this one really well. Toki now decides to go in, almost gets surround off. He's trying to hit the vessel, but the vessel gets pulled back to the back. It will stay alive there. Pretty great control there from Voss. Also manages to kill most of the Marines, but did lose almost kills all the Zerglings. But he's going for a boxer, a razor maneuver. So much is happening here at the same time. He is not going, he's threatening him. Alright, he finally goes for it, and boom, 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 in go the vessels. Getting a lot of drone kills there. Well, not a lot yet, but he's getting a significant amount. I cannot click on the second one. 7 kills. Well, it doesn't look like many, 10 drone kills, but he went from 25 to 15, so that is a significant amount. That's almost half of his drones gone. So his production ability has gone down significantly. He cannot really mine anymore because both those siege tanks are almost within range of the drones. He tries going for a last ditch effort, gets surround off on the tanks. But now more tanks here in the back. I've already sieged. Oh, he killed the vessel. So that means he can't even burrow the lurkers. He also has scan upgrade already finished up, so he keeps on he kept on scanning, so the lurkers go down in the end. A little bit of a chaotic game, a lot of stuff happening very quickly, but I think you managed to catch all of it if you were watching the video instead of just listening. But I think that was a pretty sweet one. A lot went wrong for Rabbit there, a lot went right there for Voss, so well played by both players. It looks like it's time for game number 2 after I update the score. 1 there for Voss, so 1-1. Time for game number 2, so let's head out into the lobby. I meant to say game number 3, not game number 2, because game number 2. So now we're going to the game number 3, and Rabbit decided to pick the exact same matchup of course, in reverse. So now we've got Voss here on the Zerg. This is the something color on the middle right of the map. There we got Toki on the bottom middle of the map on the orange Terran. I'm going to speed up the first 2 minutes by a little bit and see how this one plays out. Barrack on 8, Depot on 9, and of course another Barrack on 10, therefore Toki. Pretty standard stuff. Voss going for a hatchery on 9 there in the choke, followed up by a pool also on 9, followed up by another hatchery also on 9. Overlord there coming out, 2 drones are being sent to the front because a fight is erupting here in the front because Toki almost immediately found his opponent and starts building a bunker there in the front and zones those drones away with the Marine and the SCVs, starts dealing some damage there. And now the Zerg is coming in there from Voss. Voss gets 1 creep colony down, but it is just outside of the range of the bunker. He's repairing both of his SCVs there. Pretty smart. But both the SCVs there get caught out while they're repairing, but this single bunker here in the front does get some damage off on either of those creep colonies. This creep colony might go down before it finishes up, but this one here on the top side will definitely finish. One Marines there on the way. Zergans are waiting for their time to go in and get the kill. Goes in. Marines getting inside the bunker, but 2 of the Marines get caught out there. And both Sunkens are finishing up. One Sunken eventually does go down. Sunken there on the top side is just outside of the range of this bunker, so this Sunken will take down the bunker. If you make the bunker right 1 spot more forward, you could have killed both those Sunkens, but then again, of course, Voss would have placed the Sunkens 1 spot back, still outside of the range of those bunkers and Marines. But Voss stays alive. Voss fights his way through. Over has a Gazer there up and running on Extractor. Of course, 3 drones start mining their gas. Single SV there sacrifices its life by accident. He tries to go in for the kill on that Sunken, but he can't. Academy now being built. Start making Marines so he can build his infrastructure. I think he's going to add a command center. He's hovering on... No, he's going for a factory. Pretty quick factory there coming out there. Voss is... Yeah, the game is just progressing slowly. Voss, of course, wants to go for his tech. He wants to go for his lair. Whereas Toki wants to go for a factory so he can start a tank push. Hoping he dealt enough damage to Voss there, but Voss lost no probes. He lost a couple of Zerglings. Whereas Toki lost 2 SCVs and a couple of Marines and a bunker. So the loss on that attack was bigger for Toki than it was for Voss. But it did keep Voss busy for a little bit. But not busy enough, in my opinion. The Marines are bottling up in the front to keep those Zerglings contained, but also so he can set up himself for pretty much an attack in the case Voss is not making his choke any bigger. And the Marines keep bottling up, and Toki sees that, hey, wait a second, there's only 2 Sunkens there. I've got a lot of Marines here, I've got medics there as well. I can go for the push on those Sunkens. Which is theoretically possible the very moment that a Rabbit finishes his stim upgrade. Voss feels something is up though, so he's throwing out more creep colonies, but whether he will be in time, we'll have to wait and see. Wait and see if he's in time here, or if he's already too late. Toki's got to be quick now. He's waiting a little bit too long. In he goes, because he was waiting for the fire bats. In he goes for the bottom Sunken. More Sunkens are already on the way though. Kills the bottom Sunken. Will kill the top Sunken there as well. Now he's to go for... He's not really targeting anything. He's killing the hatchery first. Instead of going for the Sunkens first. If he had killed the Sunkens first, he would lose less Marines. But Firebat going in for the attack there on the drones. He won't get there though. But he's going to take down all these Sunkens here in the front because the Marine count is simply too big. Because more Marines are constantly coming in from the base. And he has a total of 4 barracks. He's got a siege mode on the way, tank on the way there as well. Now going in for Sunkens here in the back. But those Sunkens might... Sunken already finished up there though, so he's forced away. Zergans are going to get us around on the Marines. It looks like Toki bit off more than he can chew because now those Zerglings are hunting down whatever reinforcements are coming in. But there's a tank there as well, which zones those Zerglings away. And Toki's keeping his units here. You're going to try to kill that Hireless Den. But considering he doesn't have Marine range yet, you didn't get it. You cannot kill that Hireless Den there. If you had Marine range, you could kill the Hireless Den, but then those units would come in and kill the Marines. So it's kind of a trade-off he has to take. That's not really working for him. Instead, Voss found himself in a pretty good position here. He has 1, 2, 3 macro hatcheries, of which 4 almost. 2 are still on the way, so he's got 2 at the moment, slowly adding on more units, waiting for his lurker aspect upgrade to finish, which just finished. He's setting Zerglings up there on the bottom side so he can get a surround off on those units that Voss, Toki has there on the middle. Actually, it's already going in. Start killing some of those units there. Pretty great surround. Starts killing the tank there as well, but the tank migrates his way out of that surround. So that means those Zerglings are going for some safety. They're just waiting for another fight. Although now they're picking a fight and they do stay alive. When the tanks are coming in, tanks are going for the push. The lurkers are already finished up. He's got 3 lurkers there at the same time. He's going to walk them into the range of those tanks and burrow up right next to the tanks. Toki a little bit too late on the stim attack. Both those lurkers there hammering away on the tanks. Tank gets unseized and is now forced to pull back, but it gets surrounded before he can pull back. Although it might, yeah, tank is going to go. Tank goes down on the very last Zergling hit. And now Voss is slowly pushing forward with those lurkers to kill those Marines, but he might lose. He barely stays alive there. Half a second more and that lurker would have gone down. Same for this one. So very close call there for Voss. If either of those had gone down, Toki could have pushed in. Toki is also now getting his complex station on his second command center because he needs that one really badly. He's also really on the way, but he doesn't have a vessel yet. He didn't make the vessel. I think that's a small tiny mistake there on Toki's end, where he did give the command to construct the vessel. Wait, he has the vessel already there on location. The fight is happening. He's pushing forward very slowly, but those Marines are running into too many lurkers. Most Marines go down, which now actually means that Toki has to retreat, ball up here back in his base, and play on the defense instead of trying to push forward here, because that's a lot of Zerglings, a lot of workers that are now going for the attack, and they're getting a pretty good surround on those units that Toki has overextended here on the choke here. Yes, a tank. Marines pulled away significantly far enough to stay outside the range of those lurkers, which now means lurkers are taking damage from the Marines and the siege tanks, but more Marines go down than he could afford to lose. There's a lot of Zerglings still here, even more lurkers already finished up here. And I think he's got more units on the way, mostly Zerglings, a couple of Hydralisks for new lurkers as well. Vessel comes in for the radiate on the drones. He isn't. There is the radiate. And he's. Oh, great burrow there from Voss. The very last possible tick of the radiate. Burrows his drones, one drone goes down. But he's threatening still. Because Voss decided not to take down the vessel with his Hydralisks. He decided to turn those Hydralisks into lurkers, so he cannot take down the vessel. But Voss has a pretty great, really damn sweet surround off on those units there in the front, which now means that Voss has more units here than Toki has to fight into this. So he can actually go for his round and push and probably wriggle his way into Toki's base, who's now throwing out a lot of barracks there to reinforce his Marine count. Also making an armory now, lifted up his science facility, and plays it down because he's going for covert ops. Adding on more command centers. Fight here has come to a halt for now. Both players are balling up their maxes so they can resume the push and resume the conflict, hoping one of them comes out on top. But this is a lot of units. And actually unsieges, and the unsieging moment is actually really bad there for Toki, because now those workers can come in and uncontested right on top of the tanks. He can spot them, but he's caught off guard here because there's a lurker running into Toki's base. Lurker almost made it all the way through to the... Actually, he made it all the way through. Given he had a vessel there and scans, he managed to take down the lurker before he could burrow up and kill these SCVs. Fighter on the middle has gone in favor of Toki in the end, but he almost lost... Oh wait, another lurker there coming in. That's his second lurker that's trying to wriggle its way through. Does he have scan energy? Well, he has a vessel there on the location already. So this lurker... Oh, he bursts up there in the corner. Stays alive on 3 HP. It's 1 Marine hit, but eventually it does go down. Vessel still hanging there. Nothing to kill the vessel, but Voss is steadily making more lurkers, more Zerglings, and goes in for another attack. And this time his army size is honestly way too big for Toki to fight into. That's 5 lurkers and about 20 Zerglings, and he gets a pretty good surround there. Gets his lurkers right in between all those tanks and Marines and clears out his entire mass Toki had there on the middle. You might go for a radiate on the drones with this one. It might actually save his ass if he goes in for the radiate on those drones. Then comes Voss, Zerglings and lurkers coming in through the front. No vessel there in the front. You got the vessel there in the back. That means that all these lurkers are being uncontested, and he's using his scan. He's not pulling forward the Vessel to take care of those lurkers, more lurkers streaming in between those factories, which means that no more tanks are going to be coming out, which means Toki has to use all of his Marines to fight into this, and the Vessel's still not being put to the front. More Zerglings coming in from the front of the base there. Lurker almost takes care of those SCVs, so the SCVs stay alive, while Marines are in the back. Vessel has Spawn Beam in the front, tank is trying to run away for its life, but those Zerglings are chasing it down. Vessel goes in for the radiant here inside of the base of Voss, and that might be his saving grace. He burrows it just in time, loses only a single drone. Vessel staying on location though, so Voss is not taking care of it because he wants to keep sending out attacks and start killing Toki. But Toki is losing so much, he's starting to lose all of his factories that are in the front, he didn't lift them up. Also losing his depots there, he's now got a lurker there on the bottom side there as well, which he cannot take care of because his Vessel there is not being moved into location. He did put his Marines in pretty great spots there. Tank there, also in a pretty great spot. Marines being pulled back outside of the range of those lurkers. Vessel there also pulling back to safety. And the entire base here is getting cleared out. He's getting a pretty damn great counterattack here from Voss. And this might look to be the end of the game for... Wait, the Vessel is still there. He hasn't killed the Vessel. If this Vessel stays alive, another radiate might just be enough to kill Voss's income. His income is pretty darn low. But 8 drones mining minerals, so he's running out of minerals actually. He's actually running out of minerals. But all he has here might just be enough to overrun his opponent. I want to claim, these Marines here in the ball are pretty damn strong against those Zerglings. Tank that in the back has to move to the front here, because those lurkers are coming in and threatening. Oh, he's going to take down the lurkers with the stimmed Marine. Wait, no, one of them stays alive, and that means that he's losing his SCVs now. SCVs, they're dying, but he radiates the lurker with his Vessel. Lurker got 22 SCV kills. That's really big. More lurkers moving to the front here, but there's a Vessel there ready to detect them. And he's got a tank there as well. SCVs running to safety somewhere. No, the SCVs have all gone down. He didn't pull them to safety. Now the Zerglings are trying to kill the tank. Tank goes down, which now means no tanks here in the fight. 2 lurkers there on top of this command center. Command center is not being repaired. And he's got the Vessel that was here got killed, but he's sending out his one last remaining... Wait, he's got one more Vessel in the base, so he's sending one of his 2 Vessels out to kill the drones, and the drones are not being burrowed this time around because Voss was not aware. Voss eventually doesn't burrow, and he loses 20 of his drones that were his only source of income. This now means that Toki made a huge mistake because Voss made a huge mistake because he didn't notice he lost all of his workers, and he just spent all of his minerals on something other than drones. He has consumed. Voss lost the ability. Oh, another radiate comes down on the drones, and he kills another bunch of them. Great move there from Toki. This actually saves him the game, because if he hadn't gone in for that radiate on the drones, he would have definitely died to the next wave of units coming in from Voss. But Voss now having no income, having no drones, having no minerals, means he can't do shit. He can't do shit. He's got 2 defilers there though, but he has no lurkers. He cannot even afford lurkers. Well, now he can afford 1 or 2 lurkers with those drones he has at the moment. He can actually put all of the drones that he currently has on the gas onto his minerals, because he has 1,000 gas. That might save the game, but the fighter there, he's going in with the Zerglings trying to kill the command center, but there's a tank there, and the tank is going to take down those Zerglings. So Zerglings actually not doing all that much damage. You could try to get splash damage on with this Zergling. Could try to get splash damage on the SCVs, but it's just outside the splash range. So Vessel number 2 there hunting down the filers. The filers have both burrowed up. The filers still, the Vessel there in the front, Vessel there on the top side. He's going to go in for another radiate. Voss is trying to recover, but Toki is recovering quicker because he has 35 SCVs, because he had 3 command centers and a lot more minerals, whereas Voss at one point only had 9 minerals and 2 drones. Well, he had 6 drones. 13. But he couldn't afford any drones. Another radiate comes down, kills another set of 8 drones. Oh, this is so painful and agonizing for Voss. He was so close to winning the matchup, but Toki, by seemingly a miracle event, a miracle freak accident, comes back into the game. So losing a couple of his units there to the single lurker though, but he's going to take both those lurkers down and just waltz into the base of Voss, and Voss will have to call a GG. There's no way he's going to come back into this one with those 8 drones, 100 minerals, and has 41 SCVs. And a somewhat recovering base here from Toki, who already has 3 factories up and running, 3 barracks up and running. It almost has 3 starports up and running. Well, this game looks to be pretty much over for Voss, who can do pretty much nothing but watch his opponent inch closer and closer and start peeling away at the onion of his base, the outer layers, and slowly but surely get closer and closer to the inner layer of his base. He's taking down pretty much everything. There's nothing Voss can do. He has a pretty good lurker swarm there down in the front though. 2 lurkers there burrowing up, but one of the lurkers went down, which means only a single lurker is there on the scene. But the vessel goes down. But he kills all the drones with a tank shot. Kills drones with a tank shot. 10 drones there went down. And I think Voss now has to call the GG, because whenever he tries to put drones back on those minerals, those tanks there in the top are going to take it down. But that's the GG. He's going to try to extend his life with a good lurker swarm, and some Zerkins are coming into the fight, but it's pretty much useless. Although this lurker 5 HP left, that's as close as it can possibly be. All he has to do is unsiege, move here, and keep attacking. Voss calls it GG. And both players lose the exact same matchup. I really thought Voss was going to win this one, but that was so damn close. Now Voss basically had it in his hands and let it fall. He let it slip. At one moment, one opportunity. You let it go, or do you seize the moment? Mom's spaghetti. Arms weak, knees are heavy. There's spaghetti on a sweater already. So let's time for game number 4. Score is 2-1. I'm going to update one first before I move on to the next one. Voss, 2 wins, 1 loss. Toki, 2 wins, 1 loss. For game number 4, we have Toki on the Zerk and Voss on the Protoss. Because Voss got to choose, and he chose Protoss versus Zerk. They hadn't played this matchup yet. I'm going to speed up the first little bit first. The first couple minutes on ×4 game speed. Toki is playing the teal Zerk, whereas Voss is once again playing it. I honestly think he's picking the color. That's the only way possible that he's getting pale blue every single game. Except for last game. Last game he was something like pink. I don't know what he was. Beige. Beige. I'm not sure how you pronounce it in English. Beige. Beige. Alright, so it looks to be Voss going for 3 gateways here. Immediately catches Toki off guard because Toki has no units yet. Toki is losing drones here to that Zealot. Zealot already has 1 kill. Zealot's going to get more kills. More Zealots are on the way. And he calls the GG in only 2 minutes and 49 seconds. And that's probably the quickest game we've ever seen. Because Toki kind of risked it. He was assuming Voss would go for a +1 Nexus, but Voss went for 3 gateways right at the bat, no +1 Nexus, and he just walks him over with a single Zealot. Starts losing drones. Well, pretty much it's over before we could even blink. Maybe I shouldn't have sped up the game. Nonetheless, it's a very quick game. So let's move on to game number 5. I'll take the score there as well before I forget this. Before I forget that. So the score is 2-2. And of course, because we just played Protoss vs Zerk in favor of Voss, Voss won the game in record speed. Now means we're probably seeing the reverse matchup. Yeah, it's a reverse. And Voss, for once, is not playing on the pale blue color. So he's not selecting his color, he just got it by pure random luck. Out of the 16 possible colors, he got pale blue. Maybe even 20 colors, or 18 colors. There's a lot of colors. That's the bottom line. He got pale blue 3 times out of 5 times. But now he's playing on the brown Zerk on the top right of the map, whereas Toki is on the bottom middle of the map. I'm going to speed this one up a little bit, because the first 2 minutes are not that interesting. Goes for a pylon there in the front, which is trademark Toki build placement. Goes for 2 gateways there in the front. Quite risky against Zerk, because 2 gateways don't really do all that much damage. At least it shortens the distance to his opponent by quite a bit. He finds his opponent there on the top right of the map, so he now knows where Voss is located. He goes for some harass on the drones, but the drones running away. Woo! There it goes. So he doesn't really get much damage out on the drones, but he at least annoys Voss and takes away some precious mining time. Keeps on harassing. Might actually kill this one drone here because Voss is not paying attention. He kills a drone. He's not going to kill the second one because he runs away because he doesn't want to lose his own probe because the Zerg is trying to kill it. Zealot's arriving on the scene here near the choke, which Voss is trying to defend with his life. Got 3 Zerglings there. He's got more Zerglings on the way. He's got 2 Zerglings being morphed. Zerg is now getting surrounded off on those Zealots. Zealot's trying to make their way through, but this Zealot is going to go down before it reaches destination. The Zealot, though, there will reach the drone line, but the drone line won't really be posing much risk because the Zerg is actually going to surround off and stop the Zealot from getting on there, but this other Zealot still running around there. Both Zealots being micro, running in circles, keeping Voss busy. He gets a single drone. He gets drone kill number 2. Tries to go over drone kill number 3 with this other Zealot. Gets drone kill number 3. Tries to go over drone kill number 4. But I think this Zealot has done all it can do as it goes down. And yeah, 2 Zealots are in front. He's going to try to make cannons. He stopped making Zealots for a little while because he wanted to add on another Nexus and a Cyber Core, and he already has gas up and running. He's going for a Forge there now as well. But because there's only 2 Zealots here and a lot of Zerglings, I think Voss is going to try to cancel this from happening. Tries to go in, splits up his Zergling so he can run by, but he actually still gets caught out by those Zealots, but doesn't really take much damage from the Zealots. The probe is running in circles, running away from 2 Zerglings, while at the same time Voss is scouting the map with the remaining Zerglings. But the robotics there is going to be finished. This probe there also stays alive, and now all Zerglings are retreating back to the choke point here, because the Zealots that were coming in to reinforce the Zealots here had to return back to base to keep those Zerglings from entering the base. So he kills the cannon, kills the probe there as no, the probe makes its way out. But Voss still trying to go for the kill on that probe. Robo facility finishes up, cannon being placed there as well, which means we're also going to be seeing a support bay come down here in the base of Toki cannon there preemptively. And Rabbit now tries to kill some of those Sunkens, but Voss is pushing forward with the Sunkens because there's no cannon here yet. If Toki started with a cannon, this could have been prevented. But Voss is trying to push forward with the Sunkens so he can kill the pylon and kill this proxy before Toki can actually deal damage with it. Toki going for a kill on the Sunken. Zerg is coming in for a kill on the cannon. Cannon goes down. Or it got cancelled. Sorry, I got a cough for a bit. So this time he throws down a lot more cannons. Rebel number 2 there also on the way. Pylon goes down, but there's another pylon here being finished there in the back. He's loading up a couple of Zealots so he can fly into Voss's base and start harassing the drones. Because Voss, while he has been very, very busy pushing into the middle of the map there and harassing with his Zerglings, has not built anything onto his base. He's still only on the exact same amount of buildings as he was earlier. And he's now in a pretty nasty spot because those Zealots are unopposed by anything whatsoever, because Voss is completely focused on killing this here on the middle. Now those Zealots are wreaking havoc here inside of the base. He takes down a Sunken trying to be morphed. He's building 3 more. He's also morphed a lot of Zerglings with more Zealots being loaded up here on the side, and they're going to fly in as well. Now the drones have to run to safety, but I think half of his drones, he had 22 drones, now only 11, so most of them already went down. So Zerglings are now finally spawning, but more Zealots are arriving on the scene. Voss made a huge miscalculation in his ability to fight and contest that middle, because he exposed his main here really, really hard, even losing more drones now. And Rabbit is completely ignoring the Sunkens, going for the drones, although now the Zerglings are cleaning out the remaining Zealots there. But I think the damage has already been done, because 11 drones against 37 probes. He's only on 2 macro hatcheries. The first one has not yet finished, and he's 1 hatchery there in the front. The upside is he did clear out this entire portion there, but Rabbit simply builds it a little bit further away, for which he had all the time to do it unopposed, because Voss was busy defending his minerals, which he kind of failed to defend, because he still lost 10 drones. So we're going to go in for the kill on the cannon, but 2 more cannons on the way. Actually, he kills the cannon. He kills it. He kills the entire proxy there. 2 Zealots coming in to try and put a halt to this, but there's already more. That's just an empty shuttle. That's an empty shuttle. He goes in with those Zealots, trying to kill more drones. Kills a single drone, but is forced to pull back. The Zealots here are actually do a quite great job at running and forcing those Zerglings away from the proxy mid build. And more Zealots are spawning. He makes his way through, but there's 2 cannons here on location, so he's actually not going to do all that much damage. He's going, he gets himself stuck in between there. Never mind, he doesn't get himself stuck. He's trying to run away, but I think this is a done game. Even though Voss did a really great job at delaying the robotics, delaying the Reaver drop, he simply spent too much attention to it, too much resources invested into it. So in comes the Reaver. Reaver's gonna get a pretty great shot off, but this shot does make. Oh, the shot hits! Another Reaver shot gonna come in. Boom! Kills the remaining drones. This shot there was almost failing, but then it hit nonetheless because the drones moved out of the way and the Scarab could hit the drone it was targeting. And yeah, this was just a very sad story of those drones going down. I think Voss just gave up because Voss kind of knew that, damn it, it's over. This is the end. I think he knew it. I think he could feel it coming. So that means the score, once again in favor of Rabbit, who is now in the lead with a score of 3-2, updated there in the bottom corner. So we're going to game number 6. And Voss can pick the races he can pick. So let's see what's going to be. So because we have already been through 5 race combinations, PvP, TVZ, ZVT, PVZ, ZVP, we're now only with about 4 options left, which is TVT, ZVZ, PVT, and TVP. And Voss logically pick the matchup that gives him the highest chance to win, which is Protoss versus Terran. We've got, I'm going to change the colors to blue and red. I'm going to speed it up to 4 times speed. Voss, of course, the Protoss right here on the middle right of the map, whereas Toki is here on the bottom left corner, placing his barracks in a really peculiar location, because I think he wants to go for the barrack supply rush. But he's scouting only the chokes. What is it with these players and scouting only the chokes? I think he's assuming Voss is going for a nexus first, into a forge, into a choke, into a gate, into 2 cannons in the front. But Voss actually went for 2 gateways into a nexus, which is not a build order he often does, but I think he finally realizes just how strong it is, so he's finally employing it. He's finally playing 100% serious because there's money on the line. And Toki eventually does find his opponent's location, but it's too late because 2 Zealots are already out, which means he has to retreat back to base and start building the choke very, very quick to keep those Zealots out. Got a second SCV there, so the SCV can build a depot here, which means that those Zealots can then no longer break through the front there, which will keep Toki safe. There it is, so he cannot get through. Marines can walk through. The Marines being placed very close against the bunker, even the depot. He even goes out to start a fight with those Zealots. More Zealots are on the way there, the probe also on the way. There's a forge also on the way there. Cybernetics Core also being warped in. So in this situation, it looks like Voss wants to build cannons here so he can kill these depots, but I think Toki actually has a significant amount of Marines here to stop this from happening, and more Marines are on the way. Already has an academy on the way there in the back and a command center as well. He's mining gas now also. So Stimmerpit should be finishing up very soon. He's building a bunker there in the front so he can contest this from happening. But more Zealots are on the way there for Voss. But he gets a pretty good shot off on the pylon. And Voss not yet able to go in because he's going to lose the pylon. Actually, the pylon stays alive. Barely, but it stays alive. Voss now goes in for the attack. That's 6 Zealots there, wreaking havoc. But this single SCV there is blocking access to the backline there, which means that Rabbit can now go in, kill the pylon, kill the cannon, and kill the spider there in the back as well, and completely deny this from happening. He might even plan on going for the counterattack, because he has an academy finished up, which means he's got 2 medics on the way there as well. Also already getting his second gas, and he has a command center already up and running. He's not going for the counterattack, it appears, though. Because that's a lot of Zealots there, and there's more Zealots here on the way. He's got 2 cannons being warped in there in the front, which would definitely be enough to keep those Marines out of his base. That's a robotics facility. He's only made one. He went for a lot of gas there. It's 3 simulators. Instead of going for 2 simulators, he went for 3 at the same time, which I think is a little bit of a gas overkill, because as you can see, this gas is quite high and his minerals are quite low, so you cannot spend all that gas that he's getting in. He's going for a second robo and a third cannon in the front, just making sure Toki cannot break through. Toki going for a third barracks, going for a factory, and going for an engineering bay to combat drops and Dark Templars, because he's going to need those turrets. He's also going to need level 1 weapon upgrade for those Marines, because that makes him a little bit stronger against those already beefy Zealots, which are pretty damn hard to take down. Because they have a natural 1 armor, which kind of hurts for Marines with their already low 6,000 rifle damage. This is not going to work out. The Marine count is not high enough to fight into this, because the Marine count is already too low to fight against 8 Zealots, even if they are micro very well. It's just too low. This is only 13 Marines. 2 medics. 1 medic went down, sadly. So a third robo there coming in for Voss. He didn't make a support bay yet, but it's on the way. Citadel of Doom also being morphed in. I'm trying to keep saying morphed in. It sounds so much nicer than warped in. It's being morphed in, even though it is Protoss. Morphed in. So Toki throws down the scan, sees the 3 robos there. That's really something to be afraid of. He's going for a lot of Reavers, it appears. Or so I assume. He's definitely going to go for Reavers. A lot of shuttles, a lot of Reavers. He's making actually 4 shuttles. He only has 1 finished. 3 shuttles were on the way. And I think there's going to be a wave of Reavers coming right after those 3 shuttles. He's going to load up 3 Reavers and I think about 10 Zealots. He's always got 8 here. 2 more should be on the way. Actually, he can load up 6 Zealots. No, wait. He can load up 10 Zealots. That's 2. Then he's got 3 Reavers on the way, which means there's space for 2 more Zealots in one of those shuttles. So 10 Zealots, 3 Reavers. And that's going to be his very first attack. But Rabbit is being quite smart. Places turrets all over the sides there. Well, not here. He's using Marines on this side. Already built a choke there, got a tank there already sieged up to prevent the frontal attack from being successful. But he's actually quite small here in the main portion of his base. He does have 40 SCVs, but only a single factory there, and he doesn't have much defense against that mass drop that's going to be coming in from Voss. But Voss still is taking a little bit of time for it to finish up. He might try to go for 2 separate drops on 2 separate locations inside of Rabbit's base, but Rabbit actually has a pretty great scan timing there and sees the Reavers being picked up. No, he didn't load it up with 2 extra Zealots, but he is sending it all out at the same time. Voss also throwing out a lot of gateways. He's got Zealot lags on the way, he's got shuttle speed on the way there as well, and a Stargate for Corsairs to assist the shuttles from going in. The 2 raids have already finished up there for Toki because he had 2 starports there, and that forces Voss to unload his shuttles and expose his Reavers to damage. But at least Voss is going to take down these turrets here, but these Reavers have been rendered very ineffective because it's a huge investment and they never ever got to land. Same for this shuttle here, unloads 4 Zealots, but those Zealots don't really pose much of a threat against all those Marines that have medics and stim, and 2 raids that are hanging in the air. Control tower now being added on. There's a science facility being morphed up as well. I'm just going to say morphed for everything. 2 Terran factors being morphed in. Got an armory there on the bottom side there, also being morphed in. He's already got 1 armory finished up, so he's researching tank damage upgrade. So this game is actually looking pretty cozy and pretty nice there for Voss, for Toki, not for Voss. It's looking pretty cozy for Toki. He looks to have wrinkled and wrangled himself through that early phase pretty well. And once again, raids coming in there to take care of the shuttle and take care of the Reavers. Now it's 4 raids in total, 6 raids, 2 more on the way for a total of 8, and both Reavers gonna get taken down. The game is going to become progressively harder for Voss, who is running behind on the facts here because Toki has handled this like a boss. Yeah, shuttle there with Corsair on the way. Ready to fly in from the bottom side, but there's an engineering bay there ready to spot it out once it does fly over this little portion there, so that's not going to work. Maybe it's going to work, but I don't think it is going to work because he's got Marines here already on location to intercept it. He's got a bunker there loaded up with some Marines. so units don't immediately die to a storm or a reaver drop. Unloads 2 reavers. And Toki actually does a pretty good job of splitting up his marines to prevent maximum amounts of damage to his marine count there on the bottom side. So once again, another failed attempt there from Voss. But Voss is actually spending his minerals quite well. He's progressing his base size rather quick. He's still throwing out shuttle drops, even though the shuttle drops are not hitting anything, not getting any results. Toki on 65 SCVs. He's adding on a lot of factors now as well. He's already adding on Valkyries as well. He wants to transition over from raids into Valkyries. In comes the shuttle drop from the top side. It's going to fly straight into those raids. Raids take down the shuttles. Shuttle number 2 also goes down. Reaver there unloads. Reaver gets one shot. Reaver gets actually one shot by all those raids. That shouldn't be possible, but it happens nonetheless. Maybe the tanks also managed to shoot on. Maybe the tanks contributed. Not too sure. So level 1 weapon attack, level 1 mech weapon attack finished for Toki. Voss is on level 1 armor. He's clearing out the sides there to deny Toki vision of the sides, deny reaction time. He's having a side facility there on the side because he doesn't need it anymore. He doesn't need the upgrades that it provides anymore because he already has everything he needs and wants. So very slowly finishing up the defenses of his base. All of his armor is up and running, all upgrades on the way. Zealots there still trying to clear out stuff. Another drop there being sent into the top side of the map, but it might fly over the science facility that's landed on the ground there. And another shuttle drop there coming in from the bottom side. 4 shuttles loaded up with, let's see, Zealots, but that's empty. So 8 Zealots, 2 Templars, and it looks like he's going in for a frontal attack. He's going to try to unload those shuttles behind the bunkers and try to break through the front with all those Zealots, but the Zealots are not being targeted. Zealots are not targeting the depots, but he goes in there. Valkyrie's taking down the shuttles, but the shuttles all get to unload, and Storm's coming down on top of the tanks. Pretty great hit there, but one tank stays alive. Tank now goes down. The front has been broken through, which now means that Voss actually getting some results, but not the massive grand results that he needed. Drop coming also in the back, but its drop gets completely dodged. All SVs managed to run to safety. Plus the one shuttle coming in from the top side, I almost missed it. We could barely see the Storm. But Toki is one of the best anti-drop players because he always played so many Terran vs Protoss against top level players like 458, Hamburger Sasu, Leadbog, even Voss himself. He's played a lot against Ameba City, SH. There's so many top level Protoss players he's played against. And he's learned one of the most important parts of Terran vs Protoss, that is keeping your workers alive by hotkeying them on, for example, 7890. Another shuttle drop gets shut down without much effort. And of course, every single upgrade imaginable that you can pretty much upgrade with Terran or Protoss are on the way for both players. Another wave of Zealots coming in here through the front, but those Zealots don't really pose much of a threat, but he will at least trim down the army size you in the front down by a very tiny bit. And once again, another shuttle drop there coming in from the side. This time the raids, the Valkyries actually, are on location, and they take down all the shuttles. Shuttles don't really stand much of a threat. Don't really pose much of a threat against so many Valkyries and so many raids. I think he's going to try to kill the remaining shuttles spawning there as well. Oof, he goes in, kills the shuttles, and denies Voss another shuttle drop. But cannons are being built here on the middle, and Toki actually is now at the point where he should try to decide or try to move out, or at least start contemplating to move out. This is when Voss should be starting to worry. Voss is at the point where he has to start worrying about the match. Although, Rabbit is spreading himself a little bit too thin by having all of his tanks here in the back and none of them in the front, which actually means that Voss is now at the point where he can start breaking through the front simply because Rabbit didn't take care of his front well enough, because a lot of Zealots here are on the way. There's only 4 bunkers there and 2 tanks, but the tanks are already being taken down. Now the tanks are moving in from the back to the front, but they're being blocked by these SCVs here in between the factories. But now the Zealots are actually getting results. Voss is getting results, not because of his own efforts, but because Rabbit kind of running behind on the facts, being a little bit too comfortable with the state he was in. Another shuttle drop there, circumventing the Valkyries, and it's going to go all the way, I assume, but Voss Rabbit actually takes it down just before it can reach destination. But all the Zealots here in the front have taken out all the tanks. Tanks still there in the back. New tanks are spawning. More Zealots are coming in and are on the way. But Rabbit is very smart because he put a couple of tanks up there on the hill, which is causing these Zealots on the low ground, which cannot target units on the high ground, to start tripping out. Same story here. A couple of tanks there up on the hill. This is possibly Rabbit's saving grace. Because if Voss had the opportunity to keep sending in units unopposed, he could probably have overrun his opponent. But somehow Voss is on very low minerals. He's spending all of his minerals so stupidly quick. Maybe because he's spamming out too many units in every single one of his gateways. He's just spamming out too many units. Tanks there wreaking some havoc, killing units very slowly. Cannons still being built there on the middle. He loaded some Zealots up on the hill there, despite the Valkyries trying to protect the tanks on the hill by killing shuttles that would dare approach. Another shuttle drop there coming in from the top side. Looks like both players are somewhat evenly matched. Rabbit is slowly progressing forward and onwards, getting bigger and bigger. 6 starports there, and that's 6, 7. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 6 factories for a total of 13. Another wave of Zealots coming in through the front. Shuttle drop there coming in from the top side. Is this distraction enough, or will Rabbit be aware of the drop coming in from the top side? Rabbit is not responding. Looks like his drop is going in all the way. Means he's going... Ooh, he kills the Templar. Another Templar there on the low ground, and he kills all of the SCVs there on the minerals. Which now means Toki's going to have to need to take some time to rebuild his SCV count with his 4 command centers. I don't think he has noticed. He's noticed he's rebuilding his SCVs. He's not sending SCVs from the gas to the minerals, which is something he could contemplate doing, because he's got about 28 SCVs there on the gas. 27 to be more precise. Probably even less. Probably about 21. He's very slowly taking down both those shuttles there, but both are empty. Another frontal attack happening here to keep Toki busy, but not really getting much results with it. Cannons being placed there on the sides to contain and deny Toki's side vision. I really think that if Toki had spotted that drop flying in, he could have started contemplating ending the game. So now he's at a point where he has to start to worry. He has to start to worry. At least contemplate starting to worry. He really is at that point now. Shuttle comes in through the front, starts unloading. There's a storm on top of some tanks. Pretty good hit on those tanks. More damage coming in from the front there as well. More cannons being placed there on the sides for a contain to deny side vision, as I've already mentioned. And looks like he has some more courses on the way. Doesn't have anything for carriers yet. He does have a fleet beacon for carrier capacity upgrade. And pretty much is using what he already has to keep sending out similar attacks as he already has been sending out, which have finally started to yield some results. Toki though, back on 52 SCVs, so he's recovered some of his income thanks to those 4 command centers. He has to be a little bit more aware of shuttles coming in. He's got those Valkyries there on location, starts focusing on the shuttle. Shuttle gets taken down before... Actually, he did unload a Templar, but the Templar gets taken down by those 2 tanks in one fell shot, single shot, one fell swoop. Another shuttle drop there coming in from the top side. Units coming in from the front. The tanks up on the hill are really going to make life hard for those units on the bottom. We already unload some units there on the hill to take care of those tanks up on the hill. The tanks up on the hill are going to go down to mostly his own tank fire. Actually, 1 tank stays alive. That's pretty convenient for Voss, for Toki. It's quite convenient for him. Another shuttle drop here coming in from the bottom left of Toki's base. And once again, another wave of units coming in there from the front. He's adding more Stargates, so I think he's contemplating carriers as a switch. Because I think he's noticing that he's not really getting much results with these ground gateway attacks. The shuttle drop here coming in from the bottom side flies into a couple of Valkyries, but a single Templar unloads once again, but the Templar gets taken down by all those tanks before it can storm. Once again, similar story as before. Toki also already on level 1 armor and level 3 damage upgrade for his tanks. His Voss is on level 2, 1, 2 armor, 1 shield, 1 weapon, but he has level 3 armor and 2 shield and weapon on the way. He also has his air upgrades on the way. He's got level, well, I can't actually see it. He's got level 1 armor, level 2 armor on the way, so level 1 weapon, and level 2 weapon on the way as well. And I think he's going to go for carriers because he's adding on even more of those Stargates. Even getting an Arbiter Tribunal. He might be going for Arbiters, or for Carriers, or for both. Stasis with Carriers, so we can take down those Valkyries, or at least lock them in stasis, and then kill ground forces that are incapable of fighting against Carriers. I think that's what he's going to do. Carriers with an Arbiter. Another drop comes in from the bottom side, but Toki spots it pretty much immediately, which means the shuttles go down, it unloads a Templar, Templar kills 4 Marines, but not much gained at all. So we got 63 SCVs, he's sitting pretty cozily. I think he can start contemplating, or at least mull over the conceptualization of starting to formulate an attack on Voss. Whereas Voss is now at the point where he has to... I just want to play this clip. As you've heard, the time to start worrying is very soon. But for which of the two players is it time to start worrying? That's the question. I think it's time to start worrying for Toki here, because this shuttle drop is making it through all the way unopposed. The Valkyries didn't spot it, which now means he's at risk of losing all of his workers once again, because the Templars are coming in and Archons are also on the scene. Also, Zealots are taking down the Commander and the tanks are assisting in pretty great storm. They're coming down on all of the SCVs. He lost all of his SCVs. He's down to 16 SCVs and also losing his main Commander. But the main Commander is not being repaired, and the Archons actually do the trick. The Archons actually do the trick. And I guess it is really now the time to worry for Toki. It's no longer time to conceptualize, to mull over the conceptualization of the concept of starting to worry. It is actually time to start to worry, because Toki is staring down the face of death, or the abyss of death, or the throat of death. He's staring down death. However you want to say it, death is knocking on his door. And his name is Voss. Pretty great storm dodges there, but also, nonetheless, pretty great storms from Voss, because they still did some damage. It looks like Toki wants to keep progressing, but I don't think it is the right time to start progressing, or to keep progressing, because a lot of Zealots are coming in here through the front, and that tank count is slowly gonna start dropping and keep dropping, which means it's gonna be harder and harder for Toki to keep defending himself. But luckily, he already had a lot of tanks queued up. So a lot of tanks are still arriving here on the middle, and he can keep pushing. But as I said before, Zealots are streaming out, and carriers are on the way. Only 4 of them, but those 4 carriers might do the trick, because he also has Arbiters who take care of the Valkyries, and the Valkyries, in stasis, of course, don't do damage. These Goliaths, I think 6 Goliaths is not enough against, well, 7 Goliaths, but I don't think 7 Goliaths, oh, never mind. I wanted to say 7 Goliaths are not enough against 4 carriers, but he's got another 8 here already up and running. So Toki might actually do this. He might actually have just enough to push Voss in with what he currently has. Vessel there, though, flies into its own death. That's kind of painful. Another storm coming down there on a couple of tanks, and Zealots trying to deal damage to those tanks, but the Zealots go down before they arrive at the location. But another drop comes in here, and there's nothing to oppose these drops. But the drops are going down to all the turrets there, because there's no core. Wait. Oh, nothing in there. Nothing in there. If it was a single Corsair mixed in with those shuttles, all those shuttles would have made it all the way through to the SCVs, and the SCVs wouldn't have stood a chance. Because I assume those shuttles were pretty full with units, and that would have been a game-ending move there. But, at the moment, Voss is staring down the barrel of a lot of tanks. He's slowly progressing forward vessels there to detect the Dark Templars. He's doing a pretty good job of progressing forward despite having such low income. Although he's now back on 42 SCVs, and Voss is actually on 92 probe, which is actually a couple of them too many. He could kill 20, even 30. Because once you have carriers, you pretty much only make interceptors, and interceptors are not that expensive. You can get by with about 30 probes once you have carriers, and 30 probes on your minerals, and about 10 or 20 on your gas, and you should be completely fine with carriers. Although you will probably be hovering on about 4,000 to 5,000 minerals, but that should be just big enough of a buffer to get through the game. But Toki is pushing forward so well here. He's actually showing a really great push. But I don't think he's going to have enough units to fight against the carriers or the arbiters, because the arbiters both have been sitting there for quite a while, and I think they both have about 200. They actually both do have 200 energy. But that's 4 stasis he can throw down here. Valkyries are balling up. Ooh, that's going to be fatal for Toki here. 1 stasis is going to come down. Stasis number 2 going to come down. Oh, he killed the arbiter before it got stasis again. So there's only 1 arbiter left, but this one has 200 energy. So the other arbiter used 1 stasis, then went down. Toki's still progressing forward, but he lost most of our stasis number 2 there. He's going to throw down stasis number 3 on the remaining Valkyries. Stasis number 3 also has been used on a couple of tanks and a single Valkyrie. So now he has only 2 Valkyries here to defend. More Goliaths are coming in from the base. I don't think it's going to be enough because there's 9 carriers against, I think, about 9 Goliaths. And a single Valkyrie, and a lot of ground forces coming in there as well, a lot of zealots. The stasis is now ending on the Valkyries here, but I think he already killed enough units to keep Toki away from his base and to start the pushback towards Toki's base. Which is going to be pretty painful for Toki. He does have 51 SCVs now. He is not making any more SCVs. His gas, though, is monumentally low, and his minerals are actually also really low there. I think this might be the game-winning push for Voss if he does get to push through. Zealots there make life hard for the tanks and Goliaths that are trying to deal with the carriers, but I think Toki's now going to decide to pull back to his own base. He's buying himself some time. He's going to try to move forward and kill those carriers, but I don't think he can do it. He's going to have to pull back. He's making a lot of Goliaths. He still has some tanks up there on the hill. Those tanks up there on the hill are going to do a great job against the Zealots. But I think Voss is very slowly facing away from Zealots and moving towards more and more carriers. Although those Goliaths have done a pretty great job at keeping those carriers away for now. He killed 4 of the carriers and almost killed number 5 there as well. It had 14 HP left before it disappeared, which is pretty much 1 Goliath shot. Goliaths there balling up in the back. Toki has a very small army size because he has so few SCVs on his minerals. He basically cannot afford to rebuild his mass. That's really painful for him. But I think he's going to hold on for a little while longer because at the moment, Voss's carrier size or mass is not big enough. He does have some Corsairs there, but I don't think Voss is going to make any more air units because he sees, of course, those Corsairs. So he's going to just stick to those Goliaths. He's going to keep using scans upon the hill to fight against the carriers. His carriers upon the hill cannot be spotted. He has to keep on scanning, but he's going to run out of scan energy very soon. Though he's taken out the carriers within the time frame. Actually, drop comes in, but drop gets taken down. Full attack also coming in there from Voss, but I don't think it's going to get much results. And the carriers are finally forced to retreat. We only lost 1 of the 5 there, but nonetheless, he's keeping Toki busy. But Toki actually hanging in there with so little minerals and gas, so very little. But he's managing to pull through somehow. Somehow he managed to stay alive. That's a really impressive display there from Toki, staying alive despite that scenario he was put in. It's even more impressive that he even even managed to push all the way across the middle on no SCVs, basically. He had 16 SCVs and he managed to pull, great disruption webs there from Voss. That's going to make life very difficult here for Toki. Also, drop coming in, he dodges the drop, but there's 2 Templars there. He actually keeps most of his SCVs alive there. Pretty great job there from him. There's an Archon there in the back, though. There's an Archon there in the back. Toki, there's an Archon there in the back. There's an Archon there in the back. This is a very scary situation because the fight here happening in the front means most of the Goliaths and turrets are on the side went down. The Archon is alive, but the Archon cannot attack because it's stuck in between all those pesky SCVs. And very luckily for Toki, he loses none of his SCVs there to the Archon, which could have killed a lot of SCVs because an Archon deals, I think, about 40 damage at this point into the game. And it is an AoE damage, so we could have killed a large chunk of those SCVs. But Voss wasn't well aware enough. But the shuttle drops coming in here. Toki doesn't spot it. Toki spots it. Toki cannot focus fire on it, which now means he's got to dodge drop once again. Templar on the local. Templar gets a storm up, but Templar misses most of the SCVs, and most of the SCVs stay alive. But he has a second storm. The second storm kills a lot more SCVs. And he winds up killing about 30. Yeah, he had 63 SCVs, so he kills 30 SCVs, and this will make life impossible for Voss. Voss is ignoring his base. He's trying to go for a base trade, knowing that Voss has all of his carriers inside of Toki's base. Which means he can try to go for a push, but he's got no vessel here, so he's going to have to keep using his scans to take care of those Dark Templars. There's a lot of Goliaths, a lot of tanks here on the middle pushing forward. Looks like Voss is planning on just taking down whatever he can see indiscriminately. Storm comes down, he had one more Templar there inside the shuttle, and he kills the remaining SCVs there on the minerals, which now means that Toki has to pull all of his SCVs from his gas onto his minerals if he wants to recover and stay alive, because he's on very, very few minerals, while also continuously losing his base. Voss is just killing all the armories and killing all the depots here on the bottom side, meaning that whatever units Toki loses, he cannot replenish. And he calls it GG because he knows he lost the game. Really well played from both players. Voss had a slight miscalculation there at the end. Wait, Toki had a slight miscalculation there at the end, not Voss. I keep mixing up their names even though they're so different. Just keep mixing them up non-stop. Anyway, Toki comes out on the bottom side and Voss comes out on top, which means the score is equaled up to 3-3 wins for both players. 3 wins for Toki, 3 wins for Voss, which now means we're actually going into game number 7 to decide the series. We're actually reaching 7 games. Naturally, there's only 3 options left. Zerg versus Zerg, Terran versus Terran, and Protoss against Terran. And naturally, of course, Toki went for Protoss, and Voss has to play Terran. They're pretty much just playing the exact same matchup the opponent picked right before them. So Voss is playing on the red Terran. Actually, it's the yellow, pale yellow Terran, but it's kind of difficult to differentiate on the minimap with the pink Protoss. I think that's a pink Protoss, not too sure, it's just so hard to see. I don't know what color this is, I just don't know. Anyway, Toki's going for the proxy mid-gate build, which I don't think is that strong against a player like Voss. Voss is really good against mid builds. Voss is really good against proxy mid-gate builds. And it's actually pretty far away. If he had built it here, he would have been probably just as far away, or maybe a little bit closer even, than if he had built that there. But nonetheless, he found his opponent and he's going to try to pick a fight there with Voss. But Voss having start his first barrack on 8 supply count has his marines already finished, and he's in a pretty good spot to fight against us. He's making a bunker there on the top line of his barracks. So this is going to be pretty tough here for Toki to get through. He's already starting gas very early. Cybernetics core also already on the way. That's really early. He didn't go for a forge, so it's not a proxy mid-gate build aiming to go for a cannon push. So he's trying to transition into Dragoons or Dark Templars, one of the two. But up until he has that all up and running, he's going to have to keep Voss so significantly busy and occupied that Voss is incapable of going for a counterattack. Stimmer Break already on the way here for Voss. Toki is fishing for a way in, but he gets blocked out by that single supply depot there on the bottom side. He tries to kill the SCV, but it doesn't really work. Zealots are coming in from behind though for the flank on those Marines and on the SCVs. But Toki actually micros this. Voss actually micros this very well. But he is now on the receiving end of losing some SCVs to those Zealots. But the Zealots are having trouble getting on top of the SCVs because the SCVs are clipping into the Zealots, making life hard for them. Also, he's having trouble because he's getting surrounded by all those Marines, and those Zealots there on the bottom side are going to go down. Toki actually made a slight miscalculation there in what he could achieve, or maybe Voss just played that really, really well. Stimmer Plate is finished, medics have finished it as well, Zealots are being chased away, cannons are being built there on the middle, and they'll finish just in time to keep Voss occupied and contained within his base. He's stimming forward because he knows it's coming, but he's just too late by a margin of about 4 or 5 seconds. So Toki actually does fail the mid-build as predicted. It failed pretty damn hard. But he still has a chance to pull off the win here. As long as he progresses as he should be progressing, he still has a pretty good shot here at killing Voss before Voss becomes too big to handle. That's a support bay, so he's going for Reavers, and he's building his robos here on the middle of the map. Not building them in his base, but on the middle of the map. That's very risky, because that means that whenever Voss starts pushing out into the middle, his robos are going to be the first thing that will go down. But Toki has a plan. I'm 100% sure he has a pretty solid plan behind all of this. Even though the proxy midgate plan fell flat on its ass, harder than it probably should have. But, yeah. Zealots coming in though. Zealots getting surrounded by the Marines, and Zealots fighting back, but Zealots are forced to pull back because those Marines are pushing them back, and they don't want to lose their lives just yet. He wants to keep them alive for a little while longer. So Reavers are on the way here as well. He doesn't have a Citadel of Doom, but the Citadel of Doom is very close to finishing because he's going to meet those Zealot lags in the very near future. Zealot lags, that's whatever I said, I just completely butchered the words. Gravitic boosters on the way for the show. More Zealots also, of course, still on the way. Bunkers being built there in the front because Voss knows that Reavers are on the way. And he knows he needs some bunkers for Marines to be put into to fight against this incoming attack from Toki. 2 Reavers are finished. Zealots also grouping and balling up. No tanks on the scene just yet. He is making the tanks though. He has siege mode on the way. Tank is almost finished up. He's got a starport there as well, waiting for the control tower. Reavers going in for the frontal push there on the bunkers. There's nothing to keep those Reavers away from pushing. Voss is pulling his Marines very far to the back. Siege tank upgrade is seconds away from finishing. It's going to take about another 5 or 6 seconds before it finishes up. Once the siege mode finishes up, he can start threatening the 2 Reavers in the back. Zealot lags are on the way for Toki, but far from finishing. If he had Zealot lags already finished up, he could run in and surround the tank and kill the tank. Also, he takes down the turret, so he can move his shuttle closer and deeper into Voss's base. He's actually deciding against it. He goes in over the top side, tries to walk through, but that's so many Marines, and the Zealots going down. Huge miscalculation there from Toki. He does get his Reavers there on the low ground. Reavers there getting a good shot off on... Reavers there not getting great shots off on the Marines. He does kill about half of them, but one of the Scarabs couldn't reach its destination, which bought him a lot of time to deal damage to the Reavers, and prevented him from losing more Marines. It's actually a little bit of luck. But also pretty great control from Voss, and a very greedy move forward from Toki that he shouldn't have gone for, but sometimes in your mind something just plays out differently in your mind, and then you go for it and it just turns into a disaster, and that turned into a disaster for Toki. If it worked, I assume, I think if he thought it worked he could have killed a lot more stuff, but I think he thought that Voss had a lot less Marines left. But Voss had lost, up until that point, pretty much no Marines whatsoever. Right there hunting the shuttle. Marines also forcing the shuttle away. Shuttle will stay alive once it reaches its cannons. Reavers inside also staying alive. Wraith doing some recon now because he wants to check if he can go for a tank drop. As the information sees that there's only 4 cannons there, he actually has a pretty good shot at getting a tank drop off. He only has a dropship, and there's 2 tanks inside that dropship. He's going to unload them up on the hill there first because he wants to set up some defensive measures before going for offensive measures. Make life harder and harder for Toki to break through the front. Both tanks have unloaded up on the hill. Zealot Speed has finished up. Templar is in the mix there as well. I think he has Sonic Storm also finished up. The tank there is just within range to fire on the Reaver, which means this frontal push is not going to be all that successful. He loses one of the Reavers, unloads 2 Reavers next to the tank, but the Scarabs get blocked by Marines. Eventually he does get the tank. But the shuttle already being a low HP means both Reavers inside the shuttle also go down. He threw in a scam here as well on top of the cannons. Dropship comes in from the bottom side. Shuttle will it reach destination. Marines arriving on the scene. He kills the Templar, but the Templar Storm gets dodged by Voss. Really solid play there from Voss. Toki is very close to succeeding every single time. While he kind of failed everything up until now. That was very close to succeeding. The Templar drop. If that Templar drop had hit and killed, I think, between 10 or 20 SCVs, he could have clawed himself back into this game. Going in for a frontal attack, but at the same time tanks are being dropped onto his minerals. This is more important than a frontal attack, and he gets a pretty good shot up on the probes there. That's 22 kills on the probes and cuts Toki's probe count in half, but a storm comes down on his SCV at the same time. He even kills more SCVs than he lost probes. A lot of exchange there. So he broke through the front, killed a lot of units there in the front, but also killed the SCVs, but lost his probe there at the same time. But those tanks here up on the hill are going to keep Toki out of Voss's base. This is actually a pretty sweaty game. This is turning into a pretty sweaty game. This is a pretty good last game to decide who wins the set. I really like how this is progressing. But do note, because both players got hit so hard, we're not going to see any action for quite a while, actually. Quite a while. Dropship here is still alive, flying on the top side of the map. He's making another dropship. He's making some tanks. And he's building himself a small wall there in the front to keep Toki out. Toki can try to go in. Actually, he can try to run in with those zealots on the bottom side and then get a surround up on those Marines and tanks there if he tries, but he of course doesn't know what Rabbit has, Voss has inside of his base. He goes in there nonetheless. Tanks are up on the hill are going to deal some damage there and make life hard for Toki as he tries to break through. Toki goes for the bunkers and the tanks. Reaver there also shooting on top of those bunkers. And he actually cleans out that top portion there, but the tanks there on the hills both still alive. Voss at the same time is unloading tanks here up on the hill. Which means he's gonna try to push this in with tanks and progress forward and kill the probes. But he's gonna try and go for another probe kill with these tanks here, and he's got 25 probe kills, 4 probe kills. That's a lot of probe kills there, way more than Toki could afford to lose. He's now on 11 probes. That's so damn painful for Toki, whereas Voss is currently on 42 SCVs, sitting in his base very cozily, not exposed to much danger at the moment. Although there is a bunch of zealots coming in through the front. Templars there as well. Templars are great against those tanks and Marines. Zealots are great against tanks and Marines as well. But there's tanks up on the hill here as well that are making life harder and harder. And Toki is going to try to clear out all these units here on the bottom. Wait, he's just going to try to walk forward and storm on top of the SCVs there. Templar makes its way to his destination, but it didn't have it storms on the SCVs, and Voss just let it happen because he wasn't expecting it to happen. And Toki actually does one of the most mad lad things I've ever seen. He just walks in there menacingly. He just walks up and up smashes. I mean, he walks up and storms those SCVs. Pretty damn good hit there from Toki. I didn't expect that to ever hit. I've never seen it happen like that. Just walking in and storming SCVs. That's like the... Why do all these people use shuttles if you can just walk in and storm? I'm amazed. So the game winds up to be way closer than it should even have any right to be, but it's super stupidly close. Rabbit has been landing some pretty good punches. But the fact that Voss has 3 command centers lets him rebuild his worker count somewhat quickly. And considering there's a dropship, and considering he's not losing all that much anymore, because as I mentioned earlier, he got a pretty great tank shot off on the probes of Toki again. Toki added on another nexus, but it's not yet finished, because he wants to recover his probe count faster than he at the moment can. But he's gonna fall behind on Voss's worker count and Voss's income, which also means he's gonna fall even further behind on Voss's army size, because at the moment Toki has about 58 supply and Voss has 113, which is a huge, insanely massive difference, specifically when it's a Protoss that's on the low and receiving end of the supply count. Another drop comes in, probes being pulled to safety. This time he's gonna kill 3 probes. Not that many, but it's something. Dropship also comes in here. Shuttles coming in here. Templar unloads, Templar storms, and once again he kills a bunch of SCVs. Wait, only 6? Only 6 SCVs went down there. That's a very lucky shot there for Voss. Basically, Voss gets by with the hair of his teeth, or however you call that saying that people who speak English keep saying, the hair on their teeth. Sounds just weird. Nobody has hair on their teeth. It's by with the skin on their teeth, skin of their teeth. I don't know. I don't know the saying. Someone please help me out here. Please explain it to me. Teach me the ways of this ambiguous, weird saying that you guys have in the English-speaking countries. So Voss is sitting cozy, sitting in a really good spot. He's sitting on 140 supply against 69 supply. 70 supply now. No longer the magical number that we all love, or we've come to love over the years. Drops are being loaded up. He sees that he cannot physically get in there, although there is a tiny little spot here on the bottom side. There's only 2 cannons, 3 cannons. He starts unloading the dropships. Let's zoom in. Goes in for he kills about 10 probes. Toki's life has been pretty damn difficult. All these tank drops that have nastily been hitting his probes time and time again really has been making life hard for him. Basically, every single time Toki is at the point where he can start to attack again, consistently and solidly, Voss is like, nope, use a tank drop. Goodbye probes, and every single time it really gets some results. And Voss is just going to keep trying again. But actually no, he's going to kill those cannons there first, with 2 storms there coming out from Toki. Well, 1 storm, now storm number 2. But Voss is kind of smart and splits up both tanks, which forces Toki to use 3 storms to take care of those tanks, instead of only using 2. Toki pulling more Templars back to his nexus so he can keep storming those units that Voss is going to keep unloading there on the low ground. Another 2 tanks there, ready to unload. Tanks on the hill, of course, supporting those tanks on the low ground. And as I mentioned before, he's being pretty smart by splitting those tanks up, so that Toki always has to use more storms than if they weren't split up, and has to use more zealots than if they weren't split up. So pretty good thinking there from Voss. He's doing this on a single starport. He has 4 dropships now, so he can start loading up 8 tanks every single time and load them here on the side. Toki deciding to turn some of those Templars into Archons might help him stay alive. He's also building a proxy nexus here for more gas, and hopefully to send his probes to safety. Oh wait there, he doesn't lose his probes again. Dropship tries to go in, took some damage from the Archon, but there it just flies away onto the hill outside of the Archon range, stays alive. More cannons being built there. Dark Templars also arriving there on the scene, but it looks like Voss has a vessel on the way to attack Dark Templars because he knows Dark Templars are pretty much the only option. Toki has to keep those tanks away here, apart from Storms and Zealots that he has to keep on sacrificing. Toki is going for looks like he's going for carriers. He knows he needs carriers to fight against this, but his carriers might actually just arrive way too late. Because he still has to warp in all the Stargates, and then he has to build the carriers themselves, then he has to build interceptors, and it might just take way too much time. Because Voss is already progressing closer and closer, already taking out all the cannons, which means he can now actually just siege up a tank right here, kill the probes, or force Toki to pull his probes to safety to his proxy. I really hope Toki pulls his probes to safety to his proxy, but I think the game might actually already be over here. Because Voss has slowed Toki down to such a significant degree that I don't really think there's a chance for him to make a comeback. Tanks unloading next to the Nexus, probes there within danger, Toki dies, both tank shots taking care of the remaining probes. That's 15, 25 for a total of 40, and another 7 for 47 probes killed there by those tanks. Disastrous sequence of events there for Toki. Every single time he had a chance to go for what could perhaps have been some finishing moves on Voss. Tank drops come in, kill his probes, slow him down, put a halt to all the pressure that he was under basically. And I have to admit, Voss is probably one of the best tank droppers. He always finds a nice little spot in your base that you thought wasn't there, and he lands some tank drops there, kills your probes. So basically he tries to turn around the concept of Protoss versus Terran, where the Terran is always on the receiving end and in danger of losing their workers. He tries to turn it around and make it so that the Protoss is always in danger of losing their workers unless they build significant amounts of cannons around their Nexus to protect their probes. So that the tanks can siege up, but they cannot siege up in time to get a tank shot off. So that means that Toki loses the set, even though he was ahead 3-2. He loses the set. Voss comes out on top with 4-3 score. Really well played there by Voss. Well played. Good job. So that's the series, and that means that Voss progresses onwards to the finals against Lead Bokrut, which I'll bring to you tomorrow. They have already played, so the result is already set in stone, but it's going to take way too long to cast today. I've already been casting for almost 2 hours. Jesus Christ, I've been at it for way too long already. So I'm going to call it an end here. Hope you enjoyed this one, and hope you were excited to find out who wins the very first RJBTV Invitational 1 vs 1 tournament. So sit tight, and I'll be back here tomorrow.